Welcome to this third edition of the Encounter Podcast. As you can see, we've upgraded to video. If you guys prefer the video format, please stop by the Encounter office on the 4th floor of Tower 413C and give us your feedback. With this special edition, we will be adding a fourth story to cover for you all. We'll be discussing about the hurricane relief efforts about Hurricane Helene. We will also be talking with Rudy Flores and his story on Desiree Anderson and her time here at the University of St. Francis, Allison Ramsey and her time on the track and field and cross-country team. And lastly, we'll be talking to Joe Madeja about the national U.S. election results. And now we welcome Rudy Flores to the USF Encounter stage. Come on down, Rudy. Come on down.
Thank you.
Yep.
It's an honor to be here to Brant. Thank you. Thank you.
How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
Good. So obviously, Hurricane Helene was very devastating, especially for the eastern coast and everything. We have all seen the stories about North Carolina and everything and how they were hit really bad.
Yeah.
So why don't you tell us a little bit about what your story was about the efforts to, for relief about this hurricane?
Yeah, so I wrote about, obviously, the hurricane hit. It was late September. The response by the U.S. government was very swift, most by FEMA. They provided meals. They provided workers down there. They provided a lot of money going to states such as Florida, Georgia, North Carolina, and Tennessee were the biggest benefactors of those. So they came up with a lot of stuff to give back to the communities that were hit hardest by the hurricane. Another person was President-elect now, Donald Trump, went down to North Carolina and Georgia. He gave a lot of food, a lot of water. He created a GoFundMe for the hurricane that ends up, it made about over $8 million at the time of the writing of the story. Yeah, so a lot of people, like Dana White, donated $100,000 to it. A lot of people, but those two, the government worked together swiftly to give the people of those regions to get a lot of help.
Yeah. And I know just this past weekend as well, I don't know if our viewers follow college football at all.
Yeah.
But I was at the Notre Dame game that weekend, and I was watching College Game Day, and Pat McAfee, he donated $400,000.
Oh, wow.
Because the kid made the field goal. Because they do this challenge where, hey, let's pull a random kid out of the audience and show how hard kicking is actually. He has to make a 33-yard field goal. And the kid made it. He nailed it. It looked so easy for him to just nail. And he donated him $200,000 and the girl $200,000, and it was a total of $800,000 he donated, $400,000 to the hurricane relief, which is just amazing. All these, big people who have the money to give, they donated, and just, it's a good expression of gratitude.
Yeah.
What's the word I'm looking for? Charity.
Yeah.
Charity. Yeah.
And even going from the top down, we mentioned the president and his forces, and then obviously President-elect Trump. But also the common people, I think I highlighted the American Red Cross was one of the foundations I talked about in my story. They're accepting blood donations for people who might have been injured in the hurricane and lost some blood. They are still accepting blood donations that they're sending down to those states, along with a couple different organizations I mentioned are also accepting still cash donations to send down for things like food, for things like bottled water, to give these people. The good thing is at this point now, a lot of the electricity is back on. I think it was over 1 million households across the southern United States were out of electricity because of the hurricane. But the swift response by the people, the electric people on the ground there, that got them back online and on the grid as quick as they could.
Yeah, I was just about to ask that too. How's reconstruction going down there and everything?
Yeah.
Not just electricity, but also rebuilding houses, because I know a lot of houses got destroyed as well.
Yeah, so this is one of the hurricanes. I think the number was 50 billion. That's kind of the threshold number of hurricanes in the United States. That is absolutely crazy damage. That has Hurricane Katrina in it, that has the one that hit Florida a couple years ago. I can't think of the name of it right now. Sandy.
Yeah.
Right? Sandy,
I think so, yeah.
So Sandy's one of those. And then this Hurricane Helene, along with Hurricane Milton, which hit Florida, not the Panhandle, the part that's going down right around Tampa Bay. That hurricane ends up hitting like not even a week later. So when you combine the two hurricanes together, which they've been doing a lot because they hit the same area in about the same week, right, or the same 2 weeks, this is one of those hurricanes that's going to hit that $50 billion threshold of property and stuff destroyed.
Yeah.
So the problem is with that is there's a lot of those properties down there. A lot of them aren't insured from hurricanes, especially outside of Florida, because, properties like in Tennessee, right?
Yeah, like I don't think I've ever heard of a hurricane that went into Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Like that's insane.
Yeah, so like properties in Tennessee that aren't insured and their houses got damaged beyond repair or full on destroyed, right? Like those people, they'll get the money from FEMA and stuff, but most of them are out of luck because they don't have the insurance on that type of disaster, right?
Yeah.
So there was the biggest thing, I think, obviously, with the electric, it kind of goes along with the electricity, was Elon Musk went down there with Starlink.
Yeah, I did hear about that.
Yeah, if people who don't know what Starlink is, it's basically a thing you could connect to your phone. It's like a box. And then I think it bounces off of like a satellite or something. I'm not 100% sure.
From my understanding, what Starlink is, it's basically a mobile Wi-Fi system.
Yeah.
From what I've heard, it's basically like the size of like an iPad. Like, so for our viewers for the video, it's like basically it would look like one of these, right?
Yeah.
And it's basic. Think of it as like a mobile hotspot almost, but it's like a good like Wi-Fi. It's just like your Wi-Fi router basically, and I've heard that you don't need any cables.
No.
Like you could save so much money from like not laying cables under the ground to run through your house for Wi-Fi.
Yeah, so Elon Musk went down there swift. He worked with Pete Buttigieg, I think he's the Secretary of Transportation. So he worked with him. He worked with Donald Trump as well to go down to these areas, specifically in North Carolina, to provide them with Starlink, as their cable systems, right, they got knocked out. So they had no way to contact family. They had no way to let people know if they were okay. They had no way to call for help if they needed it.
They were basically living off the grid.
Correct.
Yeah.
So they brought Starlink down there so then they could get in contact with people and they could request help. They could get the money from FEMA that they were supposed to get that they couldn't get because they couldn't register for it while their power and Wi-Fi was out and all the LTE and all that.
Okay. So, I mean, our hopes and our prayers are going out to all the people affected by Hurricane Helene, but we're going to head over and talk to Rudy again about his Desiree Anderson feature story. Yes. We'll be right back. All right, and we're back after the Hurricane Helene story, and now we are going to talk to Rudy now about his Desiree Anderson feature story. So tell me about Desiree Anderson and her time here at the University of St. Francis.
Yeah, so Des came in here. She's a fifth-year senior this year. She just came in here 5 years ago. She got recruited by Coach Courier, the volleyball coach here. She's been the coach for a long time.
Yeah, a long time.
Des played at the club that Coach Courier also coaches at.
Which one is that? Do you know?
She didn't say the name.
She didn't say?
Yeah,
okay.
There was no name given. She just said she was played at her club, and she played at Manuka.
Okay.
So Coach Courier knew who she was, kind of recruited her. Des said that Coach Courier really believed in her. And she really liked the atmosphere here. She liked the girls on the team. She obviously liked Coach Courier.
Yeah.
So she ends up coming here her freshman year, and she dominates from, like, the start. I think she only didn't start, like, 6 games her freshman year before she finally got into the starting role, right? And she ends up playing 5 years. She takes her COVID year, which was the 2020 year, even though they almost had a full season, right? And she absolutely dominates these past 4 years. It all culminated, obviously, in this year. She led the team in things like digs. She led the team in points. She led the team in attacks. It was in service aces as well. So she was just utterly dominant. And it culminates in her winning, or not winning, but she was part of the first team for CCAC this year here. So she said her biggest thing was learning from the girls from the past and taking the leadership that they taught her. She brought up Gabriella. She was on the team last year. She talked about how the leadership that they gave her, it all culminated finally in this year, all the work that she's put in the past couple years, it culminated in this year in what was her best year and, for her, sadly, her last year of her volleyball career.
Yeah. And that's one thing that, like, you can't really necessarily teach unless if you have been in that position of that leadership role, because a person that is not a leader is not going to be able to teach you and coach you on how to be a leader. So it's a good thing that she learned from those past players that have been on the team that aren't at the university anymore. They're in the working world now, but it's a good thing that she took that seriously and learned from them, and so she obviously has been dominant throughout her all 5 years here and everything. So what are some of the not only just being first team for the CCAC, but what other accomplishments does she have from volleyball? Do you know?
So this year she led the CCAC a number of times. She was nominated for Player of the Week, or she was tied with it, I think. She was 4 times this year. She was nominated for Player of the Week. She also was the only player in the CCAC this year to be nominated twice in 1 week, because they give out an attacker, a defender, and a setter of the week. And I think like the second or third week of the season, she ends up winning attacker and defender.
Wow.
Which it wasn't done. I don't think it was done last year when I looked through it. And it definitely wasn't done again this year. She was the only person to win attacker and defender in the same week.
And what position does she play?
For
our viewers that don't know.
Yeah, so she told me she's usually in the back row.
Okay, a back row.
Yeah, I think she can move up to the front. She's everything but a libero, according to her. She's like a Swiss Army knife.
Okay.
But I know she did injure her ankle when I did the interview with her. She was actually injured for the last couple games of the season, going into their playoff run. So she was mainly in the back row for those last couple games.
Okay.
So, but yeah, I mean, like that again, just a testament to her. She's, she sprained her ankle, but she doesn't want to go out. She wants to stay on the court. She wants to help her girls, and it's not like she wasn't doing anything to harm them with being injured. She was still the same Desiree that's always out there.
Yeah, that's the one thing always that worries me about players, because I'm a coach as well for baseball. Like that worries me about players is when they get hurt and they're obviously hurt, but they are adamant about staying in, and that could go one or two ways.
Yeah.
Like you could be like a person that can't do anything and not contribute to the team, or you can be like, for people that watch MLB, like a Shohei Ohtani who tore his labrum, but he still plays in the World Series anyway and still dominates in the World Series. So I mean, it can go either way, and obviously it went her way pretty well. She still got all her accolades and everything.
Oh yeah.
But yeah, all right. So we're gonna head over and talk about my story actually, and we're gonna talk about Allison Ramsey being on the cross country and track and field team. And all her accolades and everything.
All-American this year.
Yeah, All-American. So we'll see you guys right after this. Thank you, Rudy, for coming on to the podcast and telling us about your Hurricane Helene story and also your Desiree Anderson story. Now we're going to be talking about Allison Ramsey and her time here on the track and field and cross country team. Now, originally, Allison was not a cross-country runner, but she was more of a track and field runner and only decided to pick up cross-country until her senior year in high school. And what kind of drove her to do that was only to get better at track and field. But she kind of unlocked a thing in her where she was like, hey, like maybe I could do this in college. I'm pretty good at this. So originally, she was only going to do community college, but then she heard about the coach and the school, and she talked to the coach and came here on a visit and loved it here. So she decided to come to the University of St. Francis. And I also asked her what was kind of her biggest inspiration for cross country and track. And she told me that her now assistant coach, Ana Mendoza Pineda, she said that she kind of was her biggest inspiration when she was a teammate. She was originally a teammate, now she's an assistant coach. And now that she's the assistant coach, she kind of also moved up a little bit more in her inspiration as a former player, now coach. And what originally Allison wasn't sure if she was going to do a 5th year, and Anna was the one that convinced her to do that, because her first 4 years here, she didn't do the best, she didn't do the greatest, but her coach, Anna, convinced her to do one more year. Hey, why not do one more year just for fun, see what happens? And that she kind of unlocked something that she didn't even know she had. She went on to getting a minute better in both the 6K and the 5K, which is crazy because normally it's only like, a couple seconds, 20, 30 seconds or whatever, but she went a whole minute better than her previous times. And she kind of just is happy she did it because she unlocked something she didn't know she had. I also talked to her about what kind of she focuses on, either whether it be times, personal progress, or placements. And she told me that her time before, she said she's not really worried about all that. She's more focused on getting better herself and, improving herself in a better way. So she's getting, better times, better placements, because she thinks that if you focus on improving yourself, those better times and better placements are going to come later. You don't have to worry about the better times and placements if you focus on yourself. And their time at the conference championship and everything, or not the conference championship, the conference match where they ran, she said that, they didn't do what they were hoping to do. They didn't win the conference, but they were ranked up high enough where they got a bid to nationals. So Allison Ramsey, a 4-time runner of the week, she is going to be competing in nationals. So make sure you guys look out for that and wish the best for our track and field team here at the University of St. Francis. Now we're going to be heading over to Joe Madeja and talk to his story about the results of the national U.S. election. And welcome back, and now we're going to be talking to Joe Madeja about the national election results. The national election was on November 5th, and our winner was Donald Trump. He was reelected. So, Joe, how are you doing?
I'm doing good, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing good. Good. Thank you for asking. So, tell us a little bit about the results of the national election.
So, yeah, it was pretty much close the entire way in the swing states, except for maybe a few. Pennsylvania got called at 1 a.m. on Thursday, which pretty much secured the presidency for Trump. And then after, Wisconsin was called at like 1:30 in the morning, so 30 minutes after Pennsylvania, which cleared the 270 votes he needed to be elected as the 47th president of the United States.
Yeah. And what was kind of surprising, which I didn't expect, I only expected a couple, but the blue wall states, those swing states and everything, He sweeped all of them, which I was not expecting at all. I thought, I thought he was going to win Georgia. He was going to win North Carolina. I thought he had a chance with Pennsylvania, but other than that, I didn't think he would be able to pull it out. I think, Wisconsin, I didn't think he was going to win. I thought Michigan, he wasn't going to win. I thought he had a chance in Arizona. And then Nevada, I wasn't really sure about either. So
yeah, those big swing states like Pennsylvania, Georgia, even Wisconsin, those like big three really helped him secure this election. With regards to North Carolina, a lot of people were saying he was doing great with the hurricane relief, which I'm pretty sure bumped up Republican votes for him.
Yeah.
Wisconsin, and over the last 4 years, from my personal viewing going up there almost every week in summer, there was a lot of Republican turnout in the Wisconsin Dells, even in Madison. But Pennsylvania was a very close race up until the midnight, 12:30 in the morning mark, where Trump started to gain a little more votes and started pushing away from Kamala Harris to win that.
And there was some sort of not voter fraud, but there was something about the machines not working or something like that. There was a lot of arrests. I don't quote me on this. I'm not sure if this is 100% true, but there was people hitting power lines or something like that to shut down those electronic booths.
So I didn't write any of that in my article. I just gave the hard facts on the election results, and I even talked about the Senate and House, which we'll get to later.
Mm-hmm.
But I haven't heard anything. I heard about the ballot counters like going down and whatnot early into the election at around like 9 p.m. Central Time, but nothing about power lines I've never heard or anything
Okay.
like
All
that.
right. I didn't know if that was true or not. I just didn't know if in your research if you found anything. So now going on to the Senate race, the Republicans secured the popularity or the majority in the Senate. So what do we know about that?
Yeah, so if you guys have been living under a rock for the last 3 weeks, the Republican Party absolutely dominated in this election year. Trump won the presidency. The Republicans got the majority in the House and Senate, so they have absolute, pretty much total power in government right now. With the Senate, they were able to win key races, which helped them cement their majority vote in the Senate. With they flipped 4 seats to gain the 53 votes in order to be the majority.
And how many ahead are they of the Democratic Party?
Well, there's 100, so they're 6 ahead of them.
6 ahead,
if my math is correct.
Okay.
If my math is correct. House of Representatives, they needed 218 to secure it, and they absolutely got that. I think the last time that it got updated, I think they were at 220.
Okay.
I'm pretty sure. Don't quote me on that, but 219. If you heard that, it's Rudy over there.
Yep.
Rudy over there.
Thank you, Rudy, for that stat check.
219, because they were still counting as I was still writing this stuff,
Mhm.
but they already secured the majority either way. But they won a seat in Arizona, which helped them get to the 218 mark to secure the majority.
All right. Well, thank you, Joe. That's all we have for this edition of the Encounter Podcast. This is episode 3. Thank you, guys, and make sure you guys let us know if you enjoy the video format. Instead, stop by the Encounter office on the 4th floor, and we hope to hear from you guys soon. Next episode will be next semester, so it will be in the next semester in, I think, January or February.
Probably early February.
Early February
with break and
is
everything.
with the next edition coming out. So make sure you guys look forward to the 4th episode of the Encounter Podcast. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll see you next time.